A first in the 2016 presidential race, Donald Trump has overtaken Hillary Clinton in an average of national polls. Real Clear Politics shows Trump slightly ahead of Clinton. He has 43.4% and she's at 43.2%. Before now, national polls always heavily favored Clinton. Her lead slipping since Trump became the presumptive GOP nominee, but she says pay no attention to the polls.
Polls this far out mean nothing. They certainly mean nothing to me, and I think if people go back and look, they really mean nothing in terms of analyzing what's going to happen in the fall. We're not going to let, at least my campaign is not going to let Donald Trump try to normalize himself in this period. I do not want Americans and, you know, good thinking Republicans as well as Democrats and independents to start to believe that this is a normal candidacy. It isn't.
Trump says his numbers are only going to keep going up. Here's why.
She's ineffective. Bernie Sanders said she's not qualified to be president, and he meant it. And he said it because, you know, frankly, with her decisions, you look at Libya, you look at offshoots of Libya, Benghazi, et cetera, so many different things. We could go on for days. When you look at her decisions, just bad judgment. She suffers from bad judgment, and that's Bernie Sanders saying it. I mean, he has, you know, been rather nice to her. He didn't pick up on the emails, which I think was a big mistake. I'm going to pick up Big League because, frankly, she shouldn't even be allowed to run for president.
Woo! Them's fighting words. All right, RBI. One of your nicknames.
Me?
Yeah, I want to go over the numbers with you because this is an average of polls.
Should we do that?
Yeah, because this is the way we've been following it very closely. And then Juan, I know, has something to say.
The first poll taken after Donald Trump in the middle of June announced he had 1%. He was in last place with 1%. And then everyone said, the establishment, the left said, oh, you know, he can't get out of the basement. He'll never give anyone a run for their money. Then he started to lead, and then they said, well, he can't get 30%. That's his ceiling. And then 40% was his ceiling. And then, oh, you know what? The Republican nominee can't even break 50%, so how can he possibly be the nominee? He'll never be the nominee. Then he took out 50%. He became the presumptive nominee. And then it was, oh, you know what, but head-to-head, he's getting crushed by Hillary, 15 points. Well, that was the debate for a while. And as those earlier polls rolled off the Real Clear average, the ones where she was leading by a lot, and time went forward, he was the presumptive nominee. The older ones where she was leading became, they left, and the newer ones where it came closer until the point where this week, for the first time, Donald Trump now leads Hillary for the first time ever in the average. Not an outlier, in the average. So as he goes, he gets stronger, but for some reason, the Never Trump crowd just never believes it.
Okay, so these are all still within statistical margin of error, right, Juan? Now, some people have said, hey, well, he's getting a bump, which is, you know, customary and to be expected when someone becomes the presumptive nominee, whether GOP or Democrat. What else do you have to say to defend this rise?
I don't have to defend it. It's real. I think that what we've seen, if you look at the pattern, is that Trump's been picking up momentum. So it's not one poll. I think it's several polls. So we had two major polls over the weekend, NBC Wall Street Journal, ABC Washington Post. One has Clinton lead, one has Trump in the lead. But the point is, they're both within margin of error, as you said, Kimberly. The big point here is that what we're seeing in this phase of the 2016 cycle is Republicans really consolidating around Donald Trump. He is plus 14 in terms of Republican support in the last month. That's where this is coming from.
That's a big number.
Right. So that what we're seeing is that the Republican base, and much of it in opposition to Donald Trump in terms of their votes, more than 70%, are now saying, look, he's the nominee, I'm going to get on board. You have people like Mitt Romney still not on board, complaining, yammering about taxes. People saying, hey, this is a guy that flip-flops. He doesn't hold to orthodox opinions, Paul Ryan, all the rest. But for the most Republicans, they say, he's the nominee, so I'm a Republican, I'm on board.
All right, Dana, do you think that it is surprising at all? Does it stand out to you that he's been able to kind of even get within this statistical margin of error pretty quickly? Because in the beginning, the numbers were
the rate at which he did it's impressive, certainly. And for a long time, I remember even last summer talking about Hillary Clinton, who would probably have 43% of the country that will vote for her no matter what, and 43% of the country who will never vote for her no matter what. And in this election cycle, like other general elections, I think you get finally the Republican nominee. Yeah, right. We had a terrible or a very interesting primary process. That consolidated. Now you see Republicans saying, okay, I actually thought that Holman Jenkins in the Wall Street Journal on Saturday had one of his best columns. If you are not persuaded yet to vote for Trump and you're a Republican, he had made a very good business case, so I'd encourage people to take a look at that if you're still on the fence. So 14% of the country is probably up for grabs at this point. The problem for her is that she doesn't get better on the trail. She continues to lose primaries. I also think that her point about not allowing Donald Trump to look like a normal candidate, that's what she was saying on Meet the Press, that's actually the appeal. They don't want a normal candidate. So she's searching for language. In fact, she rolled out another line today, stronger together, which is not really all that ingenuous. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to come up with that. But she's trying to figure out a way to unify her party so that she could at least keep these numbers even, because I think the risk in the next 3 weeks until the California primary, if she doesn't put Bernie Sanders away, is that Donald Trump will pull way ahead of her until she can unite the party.
Tom, so when you look at just kind of the math here, Donald Trump was able to take out, 16 heavyweight champions in terms of guys that really had, and Carly, considerable experience, a lot of support behind them, and money. And Hillary is still sort of faltering here, trying to knock out, the Venezuelan socialism proponent.
Yeah, well, I agree that this is not a normal candidacy. I just saw her say that on video. This is not a normal candidacy. I mean, Trump can use that. That could be his campaign slogan. Yeah. So, yes, I think going forward, it's just normal enough. That's the thing, is he could have run a third-party candidacy from the beginning, but he was just not normal enough, but he went for the Republican nomination. Now it is a normal candidacy. Once he gets the nomination, he is the Republican nominee. So it's just normal enough to beat Hillary Clinton. And I'm not surprised by these numbers because it's the Republicans won. You said it. It's the Republicans were on the fence, and they all just kind of joined up. So he gained about 6 to 8 points right there. And now he's got the most interesting thing is working on blacks and Hispanics. He hasn't even done it yet, but I'm interested to see what he's going to do. He's going to do something.
And the NRA coming out early and strong.
And the NRA, and you probably have, I think you have a soundbite from Trump on the Second Amendment, which I think is huge. He's playing that up. But let's, a couple of things very quickly. But just give me 2 seconds on this. Mitt Romney had a very, very rough go in 2012. Very rough go. It's this simple for Donald Trump to win the Electoral College and become the next president. It's this simple. Ohio and Florida, you have to get it. You're going to have to get it anyway, no matter what. And you snicker, but it shouldn't be that big of a thing to do.
Oh, no,
Donald Trump
why
holds
not?
very well in Ohio with the unions. He has a union support. He may get some Democrat support in Ohio. He does very well in Pennsylvania. And then here's the big one. Pennsylvania, with Hillary Clinton's coal comments, Pennsylvania could actually become in play. Ohio, Florida, all you need is either Pennsylvania or Michigan, and you win. It's not that
Can I respond to the doctor?
Yeah, and then I'm going to
let me just say, if you look at that electoral map, it's very hard.
That's all it is.
No.
Take everything that stays the same and just
allow me to speak to your point.
Okay.
That you also have to. It's nothing wrong, Eric. It's what you have to do is understand that what Tom was talking about is you have a growing number of Latino voters in specific, but also black voters, highly energized against Trump, who will be coming out. In addition to which, when you're talking about something like flipping Ohio or Pennsylvania, which is, I don't think Pennsylvania's gone Republican in years, but if you also then have to consider
Ohio and Florida.
Right. I mean, it's just too much. Even if he wins
those,
might
as well give it up, Juan.
I agree.
You might as well throw the towel in.
You got the point.
You'll never have a
but I just
Republican
can I finish the
again.
point, which is that Hillary is looking at flipping Arizona and Georgia because there's such energy among the Latino voters right now. Fox News Latino poll, go look at it if you want to see it.
All right, but thank you for the nice plug for the Fox News Latino. We love them. All right, on top of everything else, Clinton and Trump are also now squaring off over gun rights in America. Take a look.
Hillary Clinton wants to abolish the Second Amendment. Just remember that. We're not talking about change it. She wants to abolish the Second Amendment. So we're not going to let that happen. I can tell you that right now. We're going to preserve it. We're going to cherish it. We're going to take care of it. Okay?
He would overturn President Obama's actions to strengthen background checks. He said that also on his first day in office, he'd mandate that every school in America allow guns in classrooms. Every school, he said. If you want to imagine what Trump's America will look like, picture more kids at risk of violence and bigotry. Picture more anger and fear.
Or more children alive, since there's someone there to protect them. All right, Dana, what do you think? This is a strong argument because it's very polarizing. People are very all in about Second Amendment, or those that are obviously concerned about gun violence as well in the country.
A group that both of them have some trouble with is independent women. So she's always done not as well with independent women as her opponents. And Trump doesn't do as well with independent women, though they will claim that it's getting better. But if you look at that, what I just said was 86% of people have already made up their mind. They're either voting for her or against her, or for Trump against Trump. You say you have 14%, and it's, again, these independent women that make up a larger amount of the vote in the last several election cycles. That might change this time around because men are energized this time around. I think that her messaging, if Trump can figure out a way to talk about what he's talking about with gun-free zones in schools and at his hotels or wherever it might be, movie theaters, if he can talk about that in a way that makes your point, which is that people would be safer for that kid, like that's a harder argument to make than the one that she's making. I think that at the moment she's pretty persuasive.
Yeah, but she's also misstating it, I think, a bit, Tom, too, because he's talking about having specific people armed in a school that would be trained and qualified so that you would eliminate soft targets in places like movie theaters, schools, that type of thing.
Yeah, and why I mean, this is the argument she was talking about, guns, is the same argument she uses on Republicans always. You know, so if she's saying this is not a normal candidacy, she's got to come with different arguments against Trump. This is kind of the same old stuff. It's not that impressive.
Well, let me give you a different argument against Trump on this one, which is that this is a guy who supported an assault weapons ban. This is a guy who supported longer waiting periods back in the 90s. So it looks to me like you could say, I wonder if he's just pandering to the gun vote in America at this moment. I think if I was a strong Second Amendment guy, I'd say, is this guy serious, or is he just saying this?
Okay, you say that, but then would you go to Hillary? No.
No, well, I know, but Hillary's never been for banning gun rights in America. In fact, that's a problem for him, that he says, oh, Hillary's going to take away your Second Amendment right. She's never asked back that.
Has Hillary evolved on the crime bill?
On the crime bill, yeah.
Okay, so she has too.
What, the crime bill or gun rights? What are you talking about?
The crime bill. Remember when she was out there pushing the 94 crime bill?
Yes, she says now that she wouldn't use... No, she didn't say that.
So
she said she wouldn't use
Donald Trump is
super predator.
pandering because where he was in the 90s may be differing from where he is right now. So he's pandering, but Hillary's not pandering by flipping where she was in the 90s on the crime bill.
No, she said the super predator. She didn't say the bill was a bad bill. In fact, Black Lives Matter said it was a bad bill. Bill Clinton, if you recall, came out and said, hey, this bill saved black lives. What are you people crazy?
She also did say that she made a mistake by pushing the crime.
But she was talking about the punishments.
That's what I think.
Talking about the 3 strikes and you're outlawed.
Bill Clinton
that's
voice
the crime
impersonation you did?
I know, but it's not gun rights.
I know. My point was, yes, Donald Trump evolved or changed his tune on Second Amendment, whereas Hillary Clinton did the exact same thing with the crime bill, but one is bad, one's bad.
It's okay for Hillary to evolve and change her mind, but not Trump. It just depends on who you like.
Look, these guys are all political. I don't think it's the same thing.